Hello and welcome back. I thought, as always, that I would have more time to make more videos for Still Small Words, but as always, life happens. About 2 weeks ago now, I can't even believe it, I was back home in the US visiting my parents on their farm and spending some time with my family during my sister's wedding. And in that time, I thought I was gonna have a lot of downtime being on the farm for Still Small Words, and in fact I didn't. But there are some things that I learned during that time. The first thing is going to bed early is way more important and should be much more of a priority in my life than I make it. During the time I spent in Ohio, I was in the country. In Europe, people are going to call it a farm, so I'm going to refer to it as a farm, although my definition of a farm is like a plot of land that, the person who owns it, the farmer, uses to make money. So maybe they are selling crops or animals or something like that. That's not the case of my parents, but they have horses and chickens and dogs and, different animals and things like that. So to Europeans, they're like, oh, it's a farm. So when I was spending time on the farm, I had a lot of stuff to do. I was outside all the time. I was working in the yard, cleaning up different parts of the garden. I was cutting the grass. I was helping to decorate this barn for my sister's wedding. There was just a lot going on. I had a lot of stuff going on. And then in the evening, around 9:30, 10 o'clock, I was tired and I would go to bed. Maybe I would watch some TV with my parents for, 30, 45 minutes, but they like to watch the news or the weather, so whatever they're watching isn't really that interesting, and so then we all just kind of go to bed a bit earlier. And then because we go to bed a bit earlier, we also happen to wake up earlier. So between like 6 and 7, just kind of naturally without an alarm or anything. And I felt so much better going to bed earlier. I was able to sleep better, and then I was just kind of waking up naturally on my own. Maybe some of that was jet lag, maybe. But now that I've been back and I'm staying up a bit later and going to bed a bit later, I'm not feeling rested when I wake up. And so I really think that going to bed early really had an impact on that. I also spent so much less time online. Because I was doing different things, because I was outside doing different activities, working, not in a sense of a job, but working as in doing physical activities, manual work, maybe running errands or something like that. I just didn't have any desire to be online. And it kind of has me thinking that, in Europe, we have a certain perspective. People have a certain idea of Americans and American politics and things like that, and they have certain beliefs about who American people are. But a lot of those things are based on what they see on the news or their experience in New York, for example. And I think a lot more of the US is similar to my parents, kind of living in the countryside, in their small town, going to work, minding their own business, taking care of their families, this sort of thing. And they don't really have a lot of time to be invested in these extreme political ideologies. They're just kind of trying to be normal people, living normal people lives. They're not extreme in one way or the other. They're just regular people like you and me. They're just trying to live the best they can and do the best they can with what they've been given. So by spending less time online, you're less susceptible to these extreme ideas from either side. You're also less prone to being sucked into kind of these negative doom scrolling cycles. So by spending less time online, I felt happier to not be in that space. In fact, during the period of Lent, I completely deactivated Instagram and didn't use it at all. I didn't have any pull to look or to check anything. But then I think it was last week, motorcycle. I think it was last week I decided to reactivate it just to check a few things. And oh my gosh, I got pulled in so quickly. So now I have completely deactivated that as well. I've deactivated Facebook, all those kind of social media. I'm just not interested in spending my time there. I like to use YouTube because I like to see real people doing real stuff. It's kind of a longer form of information, and you don't end up, at least I don't end up just like scrolling forever and ever. I just kind of watch the videos that I like and then I move on. I also spend a lot of time looking at the horizon. When we live in the cities, I mean, even now people would say that this place where I live is not the city, but to me, it's a city. It's a city. The houses are really close together. If I look off in the distance, I cannot see the horizon in any direction. And I think when we are able to look off in the distance and see the horizon or the ocean or the mountains or something that's really big and really far away, it makes us feel really small. And when we feel really small, some of our stresses and our problems, they tend to fall away. Not that they are not important, but we can kind of put them into more of a perspective of, is this thing that I'm stressing about worth all the energy I'm expending in stressing about this thing? Also, spending more time looking at the horizon is really good for your eyes. Much better than to look at little screens all day. I had LASIK 10 years ago, and I have noticed that if I spend a lot of time looking at the screens, then my eyes get really tired and I have this tendency for my nearsightedness to start creeping in again. But when I spend more time, looking at the horizon, spending more time outside, just kind of letting my eyes look at things that are a bit further away, just kind of naturally because I'm outdoors more, doing different activities, it helps your eyes. It helps your eyes. Are there scientific studies on that? Maybe so. But I think the eye doctors would be very against them doing studies on that. The fourth thing is that communication is a two-way street. Growing up, I was kind of the glue between my parents. We're not very good communicators in my immediate family. And I think it's really important that you make an effort to tell people things. You have to tell them about your day. You have to tell them about your plan. You have to tell them when you have a vacation. And different things. It takes an effort. And it's your responsibility to tell them. It's not their responsibility to ask you. Because how do they know what to ask you? Right? How do they know to ask you, oh, are you on vacation next week? No. It's your responsibility to tell people what's going on in your life. Communication is a two-way street. So yes, you would expect them to tell you things in return. But if there's something that you want someone to know, it's your responsibility to tell them. They can't read your mind. How are they going to know? And finally, work doesn't always have to be for a job. I do a lot of work when I go back to my parents' house. It's like I am the indentured servant. Actually, we joked about that when I was home. I clean the house, I take care of things in the yard, I feed the animals. I do so much work, but I like to work. I enjoy working because when I'm working, I feel appreciated for the work that I'm doing. A lot of times I've had many different jobs where I work really hard, but I don't feel appreciated for the hard work that I'm doing. I do things correctly. I think it is important to do quality work, to do your work correctly, to the best of your ability, not to kind of just, do it halfway and then expect someone else to pick up the slack. And I've had that happen a lot in different jobs, and so I become discouraged. And maybe you also feel that same way. So it's important to remember that not all work involves a job. The work I do at home, the work I do with my family, those things are appreciated by those people, and so they're things that I enjoy doing. So those are the 5 things that I learned from spending time on the farm for a week. I love to be there. I love to just be home, and it's so much more relaxing than being in the city. It's also so ironic because as a child and as a teenager and all through college, all I wanted to do was just escape from that place. And it's kind of like you don't really know what you have until it's gone. And not that that place is gone anymore, but because I've gone off and I've done different things for the last 12 years, I have a greater appreciation for where I've come from. I have a greater appreciation for the people who live there, their lifestyle, and the attitudes of the people there. So maybe that's something I can talk about in an upcoming video, because it would be an interesting thing to compare the people of northwestern Ohio to the people of northern central Italy, right? We have different stereotypes that exist in our mind of those people, and I've experienced the reality of both, so it would be an interesting comparison. All right, everyone, I would like to say that we now have 6 subscribers here on Still Small Words, so shout out to those 6 subscribers. Thank you so much for being here and watching and supporting this channel. Again, Still Small Words is just kind of little reflections on my own experience going through life and trying to take some time to listen to the still small voice that you may say is your conscience, your inner self, your inner child, your higher self, God, however you choose to define it. Taking some time to listen to the still small voice is something that is deeply rewarding, and it takes time and it takes patience to discover. So once again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a fantastic day wherever you are in the world, and until next time, bye.